Good morning. Denise Dryden here out on Bainbridge Island. We're approaching the last few weeks of 2019 and also the decade. And it sort of dawned on me that as we bring these final weeks together, maybe we should talk a little bit more about the concept of actions and words and sort of tie it together with this end of the decade. So I thought I'd bring those together for you today and look at the bigger picture of, man, how many times in our decade have we been asked to let go? If you go back and you look at all the memes, you look at all the videos, you look at the movies. I was thinking of Frozen. 2010, Eat, Pray, Love came out just to kick it off, which is like, what do you do when you need to get away from everything and start cutting away things in your life that don't work? Marie Kondo's organizing, focusing on what brings you joy. It seems like those are just a few markers that sort of dropped in this morning. And it seems like this decade has been preparing us for two things, and I've brought this up a couple times in the videos. How to let go, remove, release, and cut away people, places, and things that no longer serve you, right? That's that Scorpio energy that we just came out of in November. And number two, let go, remove, release, cut away any old conditioning, programming, or imprinting, which is where we're going into in December 22nd through January 22nd with Capricorn. And it's like the only way I can describe it is that has been the reoccurring theme, at least for me and at least in watching my clients for the last 5 years, if not 10 years. So I thought, how has this been going for you? How is this, when we say time to let go, do we really know what it is that we're letting go of? So I dug a little deeper into this and came up with a cool connection that, sort of the individuals that I coach, the family systems, and those that are energetically sensitive are all sort of coming together and putting this along with this concept of what I talked about 2 weeks ago and last week, which is emotions are energy in motion, right? Energy in motion. It just means that whatever's coming at you is something that we have a reaction to, right? And how to trace these energy patterns, right? And how to learn and recognize them and how to address them with skills and tools. And so, when I bring all of this together, it sort of shows me that there's this issue that is starting to sort of slowly surface around words and actions. So as we build awareness, and I've done this over the last 2 years now, with HSPs, highly sensitive people, empaths, energetically sensitive people, and built an awareness with you on how they feel things, how I feel things, how we all feel things on a much deeper processing level, where it's acute, it's big, we notice everything, we're very observant, we take things in. There's an emotional awareness, there's reactivity and struggles energetically with certain environments and people. Those of us that are energetically sensitive are sensory. We have a physical reaction to sounds, light, touch, tags, textures in our mouth, colors, things like that. Or in the environment, which is the atmospheres, the schools, the work, the home, the city, the traffic, the tension, the pace in the room, the schedule that we run. These are all really important things to notice, that when we have an energetic sensitivity to it, that we're having an emotion to it because it's an energy in motion, right? So it's really interesting when I build this platform of information. So the most solid data we have on clinical research came from Elaine Aron back in 2000. Oh my God, I completely spaced on the year. Go back and look her up. Her original information was that those of us who are energetically sensitive, who have those levels of measured reactions, is about 15 to 20%, 1 out of every 5, right? Well, she came back last year and upped her data to say 20 to 30%, which now, well, at 30, 35%. So now that puts us into 1 out of every 4 or 1 out of every 3 people are energetically sensitive, reactive, and are picking up on things. So this makes sense to me that when we're looking at these skill sets, these traits, these superpowers that are part of our population, that are us, right? That are probably all of us, just in different levels of awareness and cultivated, in our skill sets, is that it's our ability to develop and support and understand the environments that nurture this skill set. So when, like, it's not just saying we have that, it's looking at how is that supported and what are some of the triggers and how all of this is connected. So today I want to focus on actions and words, because I believe our culture has spent the last hundreds of years, thousands of years, using words to create belief systems, structures, and like anchors, right? Whether it's rules, constitutions, religious dogmas, scriptures, curriculum, SOP, standard operating procedures, allegiances. We can take this into anything and think of what are the contracts, what are the written things that we hold to, right? And how have they been set to anchor us in a certain way? And so when we bring this home to us personally, we have words and beliefs and standards for what we call ourselves, whether it's, I'm a woman, you're a man, you're a mother, you're a father, you're a sister, a brother, a son or a daughter, a husband or a wife or a partner, a friend, and go on through all of these descriptors and start finding out, not only do we have these descriptors, but we have personal definitions that go with each of those and personal reactions to the images that we bring up when we use these words. So these words are anchored and they're solidified in our culture, but they also have all these emotions around them, right? So like I'm a coach, or you're an attorney, or he's an athlete, or she's a student. Find ways right now as you're listening to this to think of what are some of the descriptors you use for yourself. Okay? And that each of these words are anchors that hold a series of experiences and emotions and facts and opinions around them. They have emotional, energetic signatures to them, right? So when they are meant to anchor, they also have this energy that swirls around them, and these energy patterns kind of, interact with each other because we are people in connection. So let's add action to these words. So now we went through the importance of words, knowing that words have a anchoring to them and they have an emotional resonance to them. And then when we look at actions, it's sort of like, this is me, this is how I'm going to do this. This is how I express myself. So it's in our speech, it's in our movement, it's in our choices, our schedule, the pace of life that we live, our personal style, our preferences, our interactions. It's really basically how we embody those words and how we put them into action. So we have words and we have action. So we have words that have an association and we have actions of how we embody these. Now when we blend words and actions to the energetically sensitive, what we have is that when they're in alignment, when you're like, that's my mother and this is what I know about her. That's my sister, this is what I know about her. That's my friend, this is what I know about him, right? Then these alignments have a resonance. They have a congruency. They have an alignment that's known and understood, and they create this flow and they create this security, right? And this ease, because it's like they're congruent. I know this to be true. I can feel it in my body, and they're congruent. So when they're out of alignment or they're incongruent and there's this distortion in our alignment, there's stress. There's this internal conflict, like what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing are not matching. And when there's that distortion, there's internal conflict, there's a lack of security, and there's anxiety. And so as our anxiety levels go up in our culture, I'm going to go and put it right out there that it is the level of distortion between our words and our actions, that they are incongruent, and it's really hard to follow those truths or those pieces and find out you're saying this, but you're acting this way. And so when we look at this and we start to understand that dissonance causes anxiety, it causes pain, it causes challenges. What do we do with conflicting information? What do we do when we're aware that there's this dissonance inside of you and it affects you, or it affects you and that other person, right? So when there is dissonance between actions and words, there is this distrust, this disrespect and anger, and this pent-up frustration. So it can be simple in a one-to-one relationship. It can show up in a familial setting. It can show up in our work environment, and it can show up in our national leadership. So where is there congruence? And what if there's manipulation, or there's an agenda, or there's the mispurpose of using words to go this way where actions go that way, and we have a highly reactive, energetic anxiety in our culture. So I'm going to give you an example just to bring this home. I live about 10 hours from my parents, and I have 3 kids. And there were times when, we'd load them in the car and we would drive to go visit Grandma and Grandpa and go hang out and do the family thing, right? And so those trips were usually centered around holidays, summer holidays, winter holidays. And, I would notice that as we're driving down, the tension, we're having like a vacation, right? But the tension is so tight in the car and so hard. And, I'm just jittery, and I'm trying to figure out how to make the kids happy because the tension is palpable. And, over and over, year after year, and I'm thinking, man, it's just hard. It's hard to go on these trips. And then when I sort of wove it back, I realized that the layers of tension, the arguments, the unhappiness that was woven through these happy family gatherings was so big. And, I think it was only like 2 or 3 years ago that I was talking to one of my children, and the most interesting information came out was that it really didn't have anything to do with going to Grandma and Grandpa's house or going on vacation. It was you. It was that you were a mess. You were jittery, you were tense. And that makes sense to me because for me, that family setting, that family house, that memories of sounds, they were incongruent with my energy. And so I was filling the car and then turning around and trying to fix the kids while they're acting out. So, this incongruence is something to be really aware of, especially as we go into this holiday season. And we're like being tapped, right? On the shoulder every day to let go and remove and release and cut away that which no longer serves you, which is, what's out of alignment with you. What are you dissonant with? Let go, release, cut away, and address old conditioning, old programming, old imprinting, and look at education, look at religion, look at politics, look at family relationships, look at any place where you've been imprinted with this set of expectations of if I'm a good daughter, I do this. If I'm a good husband, I do this. If I'm a good child, I do this, right? A good student. So in order to release and reduce the stressors and anxieties and conflicts and the tensions in our lives, maybe, just maybe, it's a good time to look at paying attention to what you feel dissonance with. Within yourself and with others. And sort of, I said this yesterday, it's like when I go into a room and I feel something and there's an energetic reaction, it's like, is it me? Is it the person I'm talking to? Is it the room, the environment? Is it the music? Is it the temperature? Is it the idea? Is it the time of day? Or is there something big globally going on that I just picked up on? So break it down and then use your tools, right? Oh, if it's me, then this is what I need to do to calm myself down. It's this person, find out why this person is triggering me. If it's the environment or the song. Like I was in a place and they were playing a song and I'm like, oh wow, I know exactly where I was when that song was playing. So that's one thing to do, is to pay attention to when you're in dissonance. The other thing to do is explore what it feels like when you're aligned, when you're present, when you're congruent, and when you notice things like, man, everything in the world is flowing right now. So this is what I do. I work with energetic signatures. I work with how to release family systems and what happens when crisis and trauma shows up over and over and over again in something, and you want some release from that. You can always find me on DeniseDrydenCoaching.com, and it's the first week of December 1st. Have a lovely December, and pay attention to where you're in congruence and where you're out of congruence. Have a good day. Bye-bye.